This isn't just another playoff series. This is a collision course between two of the most dynamic offenses in modern NBA history. Two teams engineered for scoring, clashing in a matchup where every possession could tilt the balance of power. On one side, the Pacers, a fast-paced run-and-gun machine that's carved up elite defenses all year. On the other, the Cavs, a methodical high IQ unit with length, versatility, and two of the best defensive bigs in the league. Something's got to give. And before this series tips off, there are a few things you absolutely need to know. Let's start with the obvious. These are two of the most lethal offenses in the NBA, and they've both proven it on the biggest stage. The Cavs come into this series fresh off the most efficient four-game playoff stretch ever recorded. That's not a small sample of hot shooting. This is a continuation of a regular season where they finished with the second-best offensive efficiency in league history. But right across from them is a Pacers team that refuses to slow down. This isn't new for Indiana. They had the fourth most efficient offense in last year's playoffs, and they've repeated that level again this year after dismantling Milwaukee in 5 games. So what we're looking at here isn't just high-scoring basketball, it's an offensive arms race, where every possession is a chess match, and every missed rotation might mean 3 points the other way. What makes both teams so dangerous is how complete they are offensively. This isn't just one star dragging a roster. Both teams are stacked with shot creators, unselfish passers, and floor-spacing shooters. For Cleveland, it's the balanced attack of Garland and Mitchell in the backcourt, the bruising presence of Allen, and the all-around brilliance of Mobley, who might quietly be their best two-way player. On the Pacers' side, it all starts with Tyrese Haliburton, one of the most cerebral offensive players in the league. He doesn't just score, he orchestrates. And when you pair him with a stretch 5, like Miles Turner, you've got a pick-and-pop combo that's nearly impossible to cover with traditional schemes. But this isn't a series that'll be won in the half-court alone. Indiana lives in transition. They want chaos, whether it's off a miss, a make, or even a turnover they didn't force. If you're not sprinting back, they're scoring. That creates an early challenge for Cleveland. Do they commit to offensive rebounds with their twin towers, or do they sacrifice second chances to protect the fast break? Both Allen and Mobley are elite on the glass, but they're also the Cavs' last line of defense at the rim. If they're crashing hard, it opens up the floor for Indiana's guards to attack open space. If they pull back, the Cavs might miss out on one of the only real advantages they have against Indiana's smaller front line. And this is where things start getting tricky. Indiana's biggest weakness is their size and physicality. They aren't built to win gritty half-court wars. They're fast, skilled, and surgical, but not bruisers. The Cavs could very well overwhelm them on the glass and in the paint, especially if they force the game into the mud. But if they overcommit to that strategy and Indiana starts running, it's layups and corner threes all day long. It's a razor-thin balance that will need constant adjustment. On paper, Cleveland might look like the better defense, and in some ways, they are. They finished the regular season with a top transition defense, and they've got the kind of rim protection that changes how teams attack the paint. But Indiana isn't your typical offense. They don't just rely on 1 or 2 creators. They space you out with 4 or 5 guys who can all pass, dribble, and shoot. They're constantly shifting the geometry of the court. That makes help defense harder. That makes rotations slower. And that puts a ton of pressure on your discipline, not just your schemes. Milwaukee learned this the hard way. They tried everything: drop coverage, weak side help, switching, even zone. Nothing stuck. The Pacers picked each look apart like a surgeon. And when Brook Lopez couldn't recover fast enough on pick and pops, they played him off the floor. When the Bucks went small, they got punished in the paint. So for Cleveland, the key might not be finding one answer. It's having 3 or 4 answers ready at all times. Switch when you have to. Drop when you can. Peel, trap, rotate, recover. This isn't a matchup you can survive with a single game plan. So, in a matchup this explosive, what really separates the teams? The answer might lie in their counters, how they adapt, what they give up, and what they protect at all costs. Here's the thing about great offense: it doesn't just test your schemes, it tests your nerve. And in this series, both teams are going to find themselves under pressure in completely different ways. For Cleveland, the mission is survival in space. For Indiana, it's trying to hold the line inside. Let's start with the Pacers on defense, because this is where things start to get dangerous for them. All season long, they've been lighting teams up on the scoreboard, but that comes at a price. Fast pace, quick shots, constant running, it all leaves your defense exposed. They weren't just a bottom-half defense in the regular season. They were 27th in points allowed per 100 possessions. You can get away with that in the regular season when you're outscoring teams by 20, but in the playoffs, the margin for error shrinks and every possession becomes a test of your defensive discipline. The biggest question for Indiana: can they survive Cleveland's size? It's not just Allen and Mobley down low, it's the constant interior pressure. Mitchell and Garland aren't just looking to score from deep. They want to drive, collapse the defense, and force decisions. And when that help comes late, Mobley is cutting, Allen is crashing, and the defense starts bleeding second-chance points. This is what makes Cleveland so dangerous. They don't just play through their guards or just their bigs. They play through both, and that gives them a unique blend of perimeter pressure and interior force that's hard to contain without elite defenders at all 5 spots. And Indiana, they don't have that. They've got wings who compete. Nesmith brings toughness, Mathurin has the size, but they don't have anyone who consistently contains dribble penetration. That puts a ton of stress on Turner, who's one of the best shot blockers in the league, but he's also being pulled away from the rim constantly because of pick-and-pop actions and defensive switches. So now, instead of guarding the paint, he's chasing shooters. And if he's not there to clean up the back line, the Pacers are in trouble. This is where you might see the Cavs take control. If they can control the pace, slow the game down, and grind out possessions in the half-court, the Pacers will eventually start breaking down. The Bucks couldn't do this because they didn't have the guard play or the spacing to consistently force rotations, but the Cavs do. They've got shooting at all 5 positions. They've got ball handlers everywhere. And when they go small, they're not giving up much on defense, which is rare. Dean Wade and DeAndre Hunter are the swing pieces here. Wade is 6 feet 9 inches, mobile, and can defend anyone 1 through 5. Hunter brings physicality and switchability on the wing. If the Cavs need to size up or match pace, these are the guys who can do it without sacrificing their spacing or their tempo. And that gives Cleveland flexibility that Milwaukee never had. They can go big, punish Indiana on the boards, or go small and still guard the perimeter without giving up anything inside. There's no obvious weak link to pick on. But what about the other end? Because make no mistake, Cleveland is going to be tested too. As good as they are defensively, the Pacers force you to defend every inch of the court. It's not just one-on-one matchups you need to worry about, it's the constant movement, the off-ball screens, the pace, the unselfish passing. They create a rhythm that's hard to disrupt. And if you slip up for 1 second, someone's getting a wide-open three or a layup. The Cavs might have better defenders than the Bucks, but they also have more to lose if things start slipping. They don't want a track meet. They don't want chaos. What they want is control. And that's a dangerous thing to chase against a team that thrives in the exact opposite. That's where Siakam becomes a potential game breaker. Because if Cleveland decides to switch everything, which they might have to against Indiana's guard-heavy attack, then Pascal is going to spend a lot of time matched up with smaller defenders. And in those spots, he's devastating. Over the past 2 seasons, he's quietly become one of the most efficient post-up scorers in basketball. If you let him go to work against 6'4" guards, he will absolutely cook them. It's not flashy, it's just relentless. Spin moves, step-throughs, fadeaways, buckets. The Cavs do have an answer, Mobley. When Mobley is on Siakam, that matchup turns into a chess game. Both are long, fluid, and smart. Siakam won't get easy points there. But Cleveland doesn't always want to switch Mobley. He's their anchor on the back line, and if they keep him off the ball, that means someone else has to take the heat when Siakam goes hunting. That could be where Indiana tilts the series if they can force switches and find the right matchups over and over. But unlike Milwaukee, Cleveland isn't helpless when they get beat. They don't just have one elite rim protector, they have 2, Allen and Mobile. By now, we know what this series is. 2 of the most explosive, well-constructed offenses in modern NBA history colliding. We know how each team wants to play. We know the strengths, the weaknesses, the matchups, the traps. But when it comes down to it, playoff basketball isn't just about schemes. It's about pressure. It's about execution when everything is breaking down around you. And the deeper this series goes, the more it becomes a test of who can stay sharp when things get messy. For Cleveland, it starts with Donovan Mitchell. He was brought to this team for moments like these. Last year, he was outplayed, outdueled, and the Cavs fell apart. But this time around, there's something different. He's attacking with more purpose. He's drawing doubles, seeing the floor, trusting his teammates. But make no mistake, when the moment comes, it's going to be his number they call. Because when you need a bucket with the shot clock winding down, all of the analytics, all of the schemes, they go out the window. It becomes about star power. And Mitchell has it, but he won't be alone. Garland has quietly played some of the best basketball of his career in the second half of this season. When the Cavs need someone to control the pace, run the offense, and keep the turnovers down, it's Garland who takes the wheel. He might not always get the highlight, but he might be the most important guard in this series, because Indiana is going to throw the kitchen sink at Mitchell. Traps, blitzes, switches, That means Garland has to make them pay. And then there's Mobley and Allen, maybe the best defensive frontcourt left in the playoffs. They're not just protecting the rim, they're dictating how the Pacers run their offense. If Indiana can't create easy layups and has to settle for contested jumpers, it's not because the guards are locking them up, it's because Mobley and Allen are always in the right spot at the right time. It's the kind of impact that doesn't always show up in the box score, but completely tilts a series. But for all of Cleveland's tools, Indiana brings something that's hard to measure: chaos. Tyrese Haliburton is the eye of that storm. His game is unpredictable. He can run pick and rolls, hit threes off the dribble,